Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Mike, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
I'm sorry about that. I've never had that happen before. I do apologize about that.
You know, I signed in like a half hour early just to make sure I had time to work around any snafus. I wonder if there was a timeout or something.
It's possible. So, Mike, I want to thank you our show for coming to our show today, thetechnologygeek.org. Again, this is Mike, and he is from. Well, Mike, why don't I let you tell us a little bit about your company and what you do?
Okay, yeah, we're in the Pacific Northwest. We do all our manufacturing outside of Spokane, Washington, just on the Idaho border. And a big thing that in our personal preparations, my family and I, and my brother-in-law, who's working tightly with me on this, realized was that energy was a big shortcut. You know, we had our food, our cooking ability, our first aid, things to help family and friends, but a lot of convenient things work out when you have energy. And I had a kind of a awakening a few years ago when I discovered that I had diabetes, and for a while there I was on it looked like type 1, and I was on all kinds of insulin, and it had to be refrigerated, and I thought, oh crap, this is something that has to be resolved. And from a health standpoint, I got pretty drastic and moved it to type 2, and now I'm off my meds. But still, it woke me up to the need for power for a lot of things. For people who can't, don't have the option of, they're permanently type 1, or they've got children with special medicines or things like that, where you really, really can't have the temperature get out of control without some health risks associated with it. So we looked at, what are our options? We looked at generators, first of all. And, that makes sense to me. I know how to start small engines and repair them and do that sort of a thing. But my brother-in-law and I travel for work a lot. And neither of our wives were fans of pulling on cords to get engines going. So we actually looked at it and switched over to battery banks. And that's kind of what, there's several products that we've come out with that we think are a little bit unique. But it's all about, we solved our own problems. We, first of all, by trying to buy it. And we couldn't find what we wanted, so we went and looked at how do we do it, and we figured it out, and we bought it out. So I guess the big first thing was we've got hogs we slaughter, we got chickens, we've got cattle, and we'll do that in basically the week of Thanksgiving. And so we'll have a year's worth of meat put away. And between the families involved, there's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of meat. And once that comes back up and it warms up, it goes bad pretty quick. So the big thing we did is we put 4 batteries together in a big battery bank, put an inverter on it, which takes the 12-volt DC, turns it to 120 volts, and lets you run your generators, or your appliances rather. And in Spokane, where we do our manufacturing, we had this last year like 1 official tornado and 2 funnel clouds that did enough damage. They were knocking down high tension wires and such. That we were able to put it to the test. We had to put it to the test. So 3 freezers and a refrigerator and a heat lamp for some chicks that needed to stay warm, otherwise they were going to die. We're all powered for 12 hours off that battery bank before we had to go and charge it. So what we thought is let's bring out a single battery with a charger and an inverter built into it, so that someone who's maybe a little less technology oriented or time constrained is looking for a solution to solve their problem. So, do you, Brandon, have a battery bank as part of your preparations?
I do have several batteries set up here, mostly to run my ham radio unit and things of that nature. But we do have 2 generators set up that are for battery backup for running our refrigerators and some other essentials that we'll need. My mother's actually a dialysis patient, so it's very important for us to have a generator here so she can run her machine, God forbid, of any type of outage or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons why it brought me to your product, actually.
Right. So, yeah, for things like saving your food or things like dialysis where you're keeping people alive, the energy that's stored in lead acid batteries is just enormous. What we recommend, and we set up the battery bank kit for, is a model 29D 12 volt. It's a deep cycle marine slash RV battery. Let's see, Walmart has them for like, I don't know, $85, $90, something like that. We call it a kit because the battery itself is quite heavy, and shipping, basically shipping it to us assembling the thing into the kit and then shipping it out would basically double the price of the product. So what we've put 3 videos up on the site, and it shows how basically how to select a battery, what amp hours are versus peak hours and old cranking hours. There's a lot of, basically, the more they throw out something that's not amp hours, the more you know that the amp hours are actually pretty limited. We took a look and see how we're priced compared to our competitors, and we didn't really find any competitors because none of them put out amp hours, and that means they've got little emergency, the exit signs on theaters that have the little lead acid 7 amp hour batteries in there. That's what they're putting in these things, and they're supposed to be these, there's a power guy who refers to them as the mythical lightsaber battery. There's no such thing. If it's got 100 amp hours in it, it weighs 70 pounds, it's full of lead, and it's full of acid, and there's no way around that. So this is a a neat little kit that all you've got to do is go out and get your RV deep cycle battery, stick it in the box. The video shows you just the plus goes on the plus, the minus goes on the minus. So you tighten it up with a wrench and plug it in the wall. There's a couple of things that we did with that. One of them is we stuck a microprocessor controlled charger on the thing, and it only does 2 amps. So for a 122 amp hour battery, that'll take a while. In fact, it'll time out at about 8 hours. It'll say, oh, it must be a bad battery. So you kind of, if you drain it down to 50%, which is all the inverter will let you drain it down, you've got to about 8-10 hours into it, it'll say, oh, it's there's something wrong with the battery. You unplug it, replug it back in, and it'll keep on going at 2 amps. But the easiest thing to do is, since it's one battery, it's in the box, it's all self-contained, is you unplug it from the wall, pull it out to your car, use your jumper cables, and we've got a separate video that explains that, and you just run your car for 45 minutes with jumper cables down to the thing, and bring it back in. So if you've got, on the dialysis, I don't have close contact with anybody on that. How many times a day do you need to use that, and do you know anything about the wattage that requires?
I believe she runs it. It runs for 3 hours a day. I'm positive of that. She actually does the hemodialysis, and the other thing with that is that it runs off just a regular 12 volt. It plugs right into the wall, so 120 volts or whatever, I believe.
Right. Okay. So, and the wattage, you're not sure on what the wattage would be on that thing?
I probably could look, and the machine has tons of writing on it. I probably could look under the machine and see. I mean, there's writing on this thing for everything. Support number. They have a support number. I probably could find out with very little, effort if I really want to. I can find out. I'd be curious myself, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going to look for an example that'd be kind of meaningful. So if we throw out some so 122 amp hours is a fully charged big RV Type 29 battery, and the deeper you discharge it, the more you degrade the life of the thing. So the best thing to do is don't discharge it more than halfway before you recharge it. Now the inverter that's part of this kit, that's built into it, won't let it'll basically an alarm will go off saying, hey, go recharge your battery. So you don't have to worry about, do you need to charge it? There's an alarm that tells you that. And then so we're looking at really usable before you want to recharge it. We're looking at what 60 amp hours, and so that's really what 700 watt hours. So if you had a 100 watt little liquid pump to pump the blood transfusion through, that'll give you what 6-7 hours. So you could do 2 full cycles of dialysis before you had to go recharge the thing. Which
if I can just ask you one question. Now I know you're saying that don't discharge the batteries more than halfway. Now I know they say for battery health you're supposed to discharge a battery. I think they tell us on our ham radio rigs that we're supposed to discharge them fully, maybe once every 6 months to keep them healthy. What is the life of a battery that in the situation where you're bringing them, discharging them halfway? I mean, I'm just curious about battery life and all that, even if you're not discharging them all the way.
Yeah, so we've got battery banks because we've been at it, that are years old, and I really don't. I'd have to look into the science behind deep discharge of a battery, because what I've read really doesn't line up with that. So now you may be referring to NiCad batteries. And those have memories, and if you don't do a deep discharge on that to kind of reset it, it'll charge part way up, and then you don't get much use out of it. So it could be that NiCad, what's true for NiCad was kind of lumped in with the lead acid, and I'm not sure that may be true. Now, I'll be watching the comments, I guess, on your post to see if people can point me to how wrong I am on this, and if so, great, because I don't pretend to be the guru and expert on all things. So if people are wanting to correct me on that, please do. More knowledge is better, and you'd be doing me a favor by now.
Well, this will also be up to, by the way, on our site, thetechnologygeek.org, under our videos, as well as in our podcast version. So if I do get any comments there, I'll forward them over to you. I'm sure there's some hams right now listening that are probably either going to need more clarification like that, which is perfectly fine. So some other things too. I'm looking on your site. I see you do have a backpack, like a backpack type setup where you can actually hook a radio to that. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Right. So there's it's more of a bug out one. It's a larger ammo can. You're talking about the tactical pack.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is I actually tweeted the link, our link out, probably maybe 2-3 days ago to let him know we're having an interview, and that was the #1 question: is he going to talk about that? So that's why I'm bringing that up.
Okay, sure. Okay, so that one has that one's got a smaller battery because it's designed to be a little lighter, a little more. You can strap it onto a pack and bring it into a cabin. You can hike it up to a hill. I would recommend not holding it by hand, but the old military Alice packs that had the shelf for putting on military radios. I'd put it on something like that because it's about 40-ish pounds, and so hiking up a hill with just that, you want your hands free. Okay, so what do we have with that guy? In that case, in order to fit inside the can, the ammo can, we've got it's a lawn tractor battery. So it's really sitting about 35 amp hours of capacity, So it's
Now,
small
what
but
is that?
lighter.
What does that run like weight-wise?
Oh, the whole thing, including the battery, sits at about 40 pounds.
That's not too bad though for a set like that. I've ran into ones that are a lot heavier than that. That's actually not too bad weight-wise.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on what you call tactical. You know, for me and my background early on. This is, I guess, goes way back. When I was in the Marine Corps, I got into a unit where I basically had waterproof and HF radio. We'd swim into shore. We'd kind of sneak past the beach defenses and get up on a hill and stick a little whip in the air and call in intel reports on enemy strength and movements, and then do close air support as the landing happened. So that's my most tactical. It's where you can carry all your gear, all your food, and everything. And so that solution for me really is right here. This is a KX3 Elecraft. If I flip it up here,
that's a beauty right there. For those of you that are watching.
Yeah, let me bring it up a little closer. Oops. My camera aim is not so good. Okay, so yeah, this is a Elecraft KX3. On the back, I put this is an Anker 10 amp hour battery, although 10 amp hour at 5 volts at USB. But it happens to have an optional output. It's got the USB for your phones, but it's got a little 12 volt output. And so that comes around. I've made a short little pigtail to get it into the radio. So I can run this thing for hours and hours on that. So that's the most tactical. So if I'm doing long range hikes and where I've got plenty of gear. I've got all my food and all my stuff to keep warm. Or if I'm doing snowshoeing, and I like to set up well, the most fun is an igloo, but it's kind of big for one person. So mostly snow caves. And do a snow cave, run a feed line out to a dipole. That's what I carry. So that's the most tactical. The next level, closer to kind of the car camping is something like this tactical battery pack. This is something where you can throw it onto a pack. If you're going to go and set up a hilltop relay point, and you're going to bring out, you may take 3 or 4 trips to get your food, your gear, your equipment all up there. This is a solution for you, I think. It's got a 800 watt inverter, so in case you've got any AC stuff that you got to have up there running, it's got a USB for recharging batteries, or even like the newer Anker's charge off of a regular USB micro port. You can get the thing up there. It's for those who are worried about the more extreme things. It's a full metal can that's sealed. When the lid is on, it's Faraday cage, so you don't have EMP or coronal mass ejection issues. Now, if I get a lot of flames on EMP proofness, my brother-in-law who does this with me is an FAA certified avionics tech who's done just tons of military stuff and has done actually quite a bit of research on there. So he'll go toe to toe on someone who says that unless they invent a new type of EMP, this battery box would be just fine. And then, of course, you've got the 12 volts to run straight off the thing, and then you've got an inverter there for any equipment you need up there that just has to run on 120 volts. It's got cigarette lighter ports, so you could have multiple rechargeable mobile devices or your laptop. I waited and waited for something with a built-in USB port, nice and light for backpacking. And the new 8-inch Windows tablets. The one I'm on right now, talking to you, is an Acer Iconia W4, and it's just been awesome. I was kind of jealous of my wife's iPad keyboard that has a nice tight fit. Everything's kind of built for it. But there's so many Windows tablets that there's kind of no one standard. So I got a Belkin Bluetooth keyboard for the thing. It's got these bungee cord things that are supposed to hold the tablet, and they don't work at all. So you cut those things off and use Velcro, double stick Velcro, and you stick the thing on there. And then actually my tablet is staying charged through this conversation with there's a new Anker. The old guys here. These were my standby, and I've got like I don't have any just as backups. Only did 2 amps, but that's going to barely charge a tablet. So Anker's got a new 4 amp version, and that's actually Velcroed on the back side of my Bluetooth keyboard stand here. And that's part of the tactical thing is I don't expect any kinds of issues here in the United States, but coming from having a radio set up and having to collapse it and pack it up and get out of there really fast while someone's chasing me, it's kind of led me to design things that can still do that. Actually, that was in Korea, just south of the DMZ. We were on a hill doing basically sitting with some binoculars and keeping track of what was going on. And basically some troops came up the hill and chased us off. And I basically had to tear down a dipole and get in my pack and run down the other side of the hill ahead of those guys. So everything that I have is designed to either cut and leave or tear down real fast.
So your setup would have made your time in the military a lot less intense, huh?
Oh yeah, what I have now, my Elecraft with and it sits in a nice scuba dry box. I can't tell you the headaches of keep radio swimming in the ocean. It's just in your pack there. My whole entire setup weighs less than one of the batteries I used to have to carry. It was AN PRC 104. And it was it was a big beast. And the batteries were literally bricks. So yeah, if I had this back then, oh, that would have been sweet. Those things were only like 25 watts. The Elecraft is 10, but since I do a lot of PSK 31 digital mode on HF, you can punch through a lot just like Morse code.
Now let me ask you another question. You charge this thing, fully. Get your batteries, you charge fully. Realistically, if you had to, how long could you get out of a charge if you were hiking or something like that before you would need to recharge, running with the setup that you have?
You're talking about the Elecraft one, or you're talking about the tactical battery pack, the 40-pounder?
Well, let's say both.
Okay, so with the tactical wood gas tactical battery bank there, if you're running, let's say 25% duty cycle, and if you're gonna have that guy there, you're probably, like for me, if I had that battery pack, I would be bringing my Yaesu FT8x7B, which can do 100 watts. But if you're doing 20%, I'd say you could get 14 hours, 16 hours of pretty heavy duty. The scenario. I guess that's not a good scenario. The scenario in my head was, you're on top of the hilltop and you're calling in close air support and you're calling back intel, and basically you're on the thing all the time. With that battery, I'd expect to get 12, 14 hours of use out of things. And that's assumes you don't just peg the thing at 100 watts. You would use the power that you need to get to who you need to talk to. I
didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. And then I haven't actually run one of these Ankers dry before I thought, let me just recharge it. Because it's only 10 watts, and sometimes you can bring it down. I'll put it down to 5 watts, and I'll just do the PSK stuff on it. And I turn the backlight off, especially when I'm remoted into it from my tablet. You don't need to have a light on there because it's displayed on FL Digi or Henrietta Deluxe. Gosh, that's let's see, that's 10 amp hours. I probably only want to use 6 or 7. So that's about 7 hours, maybe 7 hours of use before pull it off and do the other one. But or an alternative, if it's a long trip, I'm bringing a cooking pot with me anyway. This one happens to have a USB output. I don't know if you've seen these power pots, but let me hold it up kind of close there. It's got an aluminum bottom, and then it's got a Peltier junction, and then it's got the pot. And how it works is in reverse of the way those really small refrigerators work. And a Peltier junction is something, if you put current through it, it takes heat from one side and pushes it to the other side, which is exactly what you want for a refrigerator. But they did the opposite here. What you do is you put cold water in the pot, you put a fire under it, so you get a temperature differential. And so what your Peltier junction does is it works in reverse. It actually puts out, if you've got really cold water, especially like in the snow, you've got like icy cold water and a nice fire underneath it, you can get an amp out of it. As the water warms up, the temperature difference is less, and so the power goes down. But anyway, this is how I charge the anchors in the field, especially when I'm in coastal Washington, where there's plenty of rain and plenty of clouds. When I'm on the east side of the mountains, I just have a little Goal Zero solar thing that solar, I guess I'm not as much a fan of, other than if it's the only thing you got, it's worth gold, right? But what I'll do is I'll use the Goal Zero to charge my spare like all day long, and then that'll be my battery for tomorrow while I'm using the one today. So when I have to rely on solar, I bring two of my little battery packs. You had a question earlier.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when we're on obviously we do field day and we do special events, obviously they always tell us when you're running, PSK 31 or anything like that using FL Digi, they always tell you that to get the best out of your batteries, because I mean, we probably will run quite a few batteries, but we always seem to say, try to actually don't be the one doing the calling, being the one receiving, because I guess because of battery life. Now, I know you do a little bit with PSK31. What do you recommend? How do you extend the life of your batteries? Do you use somebody that does a lot of calling, or do you wait to receive? What do you think is best as far as handling, working digital using batteries?
Right. So for my favorite mode is, for field day for me, I pull up the car and I set up. Field day for me is where the car is at the trailhead. And I hike my equipment up onto a hill. And so in that case, I'm running QRP. And in QRP, it's a lot easier to find a nice strong station and call back. One of the things I found when you try to be the one that everyone comes to, power is kind of where it's at. And people will, they won't hear you and they'll step right on top of you. So you're just trying to slip into someone's just starting to call out there, or there's a lull and you just stick yourself in there. I've had actually a lot of good luck, with that method. So for me, my duty cycle is, and I don't rack up big points, because for me it's about the original intent of field day, which is check out your gear, and for me it's all of my gear, cooking gear and how to keep dry and warm and all that kind of stuff away from my car. So for me, it's more about go find a nice strong station, find a little gap to fit in there, and also a good location. One thing I've got where I'm on foot is I can get to the top of the hill, and I set up a real nice antenna station there. I spend more time worrying about my antenna than I do about anything else as far as my setup goes. So
I guess the other question I had too. Some people had asked me this on Twitter. I guess they were curious about what exactly was a full kit, like you have the little Dragon kit. And so I guess a lot of people curious what exactly were the kits and how exactly they worked.
Okay. So that gets on to, I guess I got partway down our energy path along the lines of, starting with the generator and then, hey, not everyone who needs to run that thing when we're away is really good at small gas engines. How to make it easier, and so the battery bank. And then the next step was, hey, storing gasoline is a challenge. How to do that properly? And one of the things we did was we said, hey, and people are going to be shocked to hear this, and they're going to run out and check their owner's manuals. But go check your generators, usable hours, and most of them are rated at 80 to 100 hours, and that's like not very much time. And that is a reflection of how reliable power is. I was in India. Well, let's see, when was it? This spring. I was in India this spring. And every single floor has a generator, and they have multiple power outages every day, and so they can't afford to have a 100-hour engine on that thing. So a lot of them have oil filters, and there's a lot more maintenance that goes into those. So I guess I've gone off in the weeds a little bit, but. We looked at that and said, because of that, because of the low hour ratings that all the under $1,000 generators are rated at, we've made our own, and so it's basically we said, hey, we're charging a battery. We need 12 volts or 13.8. Doesn't make sense to make 120 volts just to turn it back into 12. So we made the generators we've got for wood gas started out as just regular gas engines. To where you can get a Harbor Freight, $100 engine as a full replacement engine right there, and it just spins an alternator, and it charges your battery banks. And then we looked at it and said, hey, what happens when we run out of gas, or we really need to use our gas for travel? And then we looked at our options, and the only one we really liked was wood gas. Wood gas is it goes back to like 1880. It was invented just before oil in the ground was discovered, and how to turn that into gasoline and diesel. And it's a way of burning wood so that you have leftover hydrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide that will burn in a regular gasoline engine. And so we looked at the options that are out there, and at the time I don't think we found anything less than $5,000, and there were you had to move it with a pallet. You had to move it on a pallet. You had to have basically equipment to move the thing around. So we said, can we scale this down to home generators? And that led to the Big Dragon and the Small Dragon. The Big Dragon is kind of the original targeted, designed for initially we designed it for like 6 to 7 kilowatt generators, but it turns out that we have actually helped customers who are local to us get 12, 15 horse generators running on this thing, and it supports that. So we kind of the upper end is 18, 20 horsepower, which is that'll get you 15 kilowatt generator, which is a lot. And then the Little Dragon was an experiment in how small can you make it if you had to pack it into a cabinet. And that one, we recommend that one for 3.5, maybe up to 5 horse generators, which would do, a couple kilowatts, which is, a couple kilowatts is a lot of power. But it's lighter and it's thinner metal, and there's, you need to take care of all of these as far as, protect from rust and that sort of thing. The one thing that people ask about the gas fire stage, and that's the Big Dragon, Little Dragon. The difference is in the gasifier and how big it is. The burn area where the wood is actually on fire and creating the heat that's cooking the wood above it. That burn area there is made out of stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about the thing burning or rusting through. We've never actually had one of ours have any kind of an issue like that, and we've never had a return because of that. So there's the gasifier stage where you load the wood in the top, you light the thing on fire, and you use a fan initially to push the smoke through. As it heats up, it turns into wood gas. But at that point, it's kind of damp and dirty, and it'll gum up your engine. So the next stage is common between the big and the small Dragon systems. Everything after the gas fire is the same. The next stage is a water-jacketed cooler. So the gas goes into the cooler. It stays inside this metal contraption that we've got in there. We call it Little Boy because it looks like, before you put the unit in there, it looks like kind of a little A-bomb. It's a different looking thing. But anyway, it's what it took for us to get the baffling right to basically extract the heat. So the cooler, you fill full of water, you run the gas through this. The gas doesn't touch the water, but it touches the metal walls, transfers the heat out. That condenses the tars, and they run out into a catch jar. And it actually looks like crude oil. It's thick, gooey, black stuff. And if you don't remove it there, it ends up in your engine, and then your engine has got problems. And the next thing is you want to protect your engine from particulate. Little chunks of ash or anything that would get through. And so the next stage is the filter stage. That removes all of the particulates, and what comes out, you just mix that 50-50 with regular outside air into your carburetor and run the thing. So I've talked for a long time. Any questions on that, or kind of anything you think I missed out on that?
No, I think you explained it really well. It's very interesting. I'm actually getting quite a good education just sitting here listening to you. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about your company? Anything that ham radio operators like myself or anybody techie or anything that's a basis prepper could benefit, and maybe what we should do, what we should look at from a standpoint of what your company does?
Okay. So I guess the big thing is when we did the wood gas stuff, we assumed that a lot of preppers had, or folks who live out in the country or have long power lines coming to them would have either a generator or a battery bank. And we found that not very many did, and there was a little bit of concern and worry over how to safely do that. So if someone was wanting to get started, I would get started with either the tactical battery bank or the battery kit, where you go and get your own battery for it. Either one of those is going to be great. If you're not looking at moving it, the higher capacity of the kit would be the way to go. For field day type operations, if you want something really rugged, then the tactical would be a really good to go. For my kind of radio operations that I do, that would last a long time. In fact, I've got a niece who has one of the tactical systems in their house, and they live in an apartment, and they had quite a few power outages. And it, just that little 35 amp hour battery ran their refrigerator for like 8 hours. So that's, if you're going to start anywhere, I'd start there. If you're going to go for the wood gas, where you want, especially like here in the Northwest where trees grow like weeds, the fuel is free except for the labor it takes to process it. I would start out by becoming really good at small gas engines, or get someone who's very competent at small gas engines, because the batteries, they just work and you don't have to think about them. You need it. You train and become an operator for the wood gas systems. It's not something that you can buy, stick it on a shelf, and then it'll instantly work for you in the emergency when you pull it out for the first time. It's something you want to practice with and get good at. And then I guess the last thing I was thinking of is I got tired of I had a wad of wires like twice as big as this to carry with me, and I wasn't very happy with that. And I also in my tablet, I found I needed a USB micro. So there's a new product that we're coming out with. I haven't got the stickers on it and everything. So it's basically, it's got a USB micro that goes into your tablet. It's got a 3-port hub this fourth one is a charging thing, but I don't use that. And then I've got a heat shrink on a little mouse, which when you're doing a fast field digital operations, a keyboard and a mouse really is a must. The next one is I shrunk down the what do you call it? USB to stereo that the Elecraft KX3 comes with. I whacked it off and I stuck the 1G stereo on the thing to get it small. And the last thing is the microphone in a tablet is not as good as you want. You want to be able to put, there's no jack, there's no microphone jack in the tablet. So this is a sound card with stereo for mic and speaker. So I'll put out a video on that, or I'll talk to you and we'll make a video on that to demonstrate how that thing is, how small it is. Hopefully it solves some problems for some people.
Yeah, that would be really great if you want to do something like that. That'd be really good if we can have a, do another, session on that. That'd be really great. Just a quick question for you. Anybody that's interested in listening, do you have any special offer code or anything that you could offer our listeners today?
That's a good question. We're a young company, and let's see. Right now, I don't have anything that I can kind of do off the cuff. Margins are pretty tight until we get our volumes up a little bit. So what I can do is ask you, hey, if you're interested in supporting a U.S.-based manufactured in the U.S. veteran-owned business, I'd appreciate that help. And what we had been having through the end of December was all of our battery bank kits come with a what do you call it, a 400 lumen so we're throwing that in for free for any orders that come in through the end of the month, although I'm not sure how fast you're going to get.
Okay. No, I mean, not to put you on the spot or anything. Believe me, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot or anything like that. It was just a question that a couple people had, so I just figured I threw it out there. But you know what, Mike, I have to tell you, it's great to deal with people that are made in the U.S., and I think if there should be so much more of that, people supporting American-made companies, which is why I'm very glad you came on the program today, because so much stuff with this ham radio and stuff, it's all overseas nowadays. It's great to see a young company, right here in America, putting out good products. It's really great to see.
All right. Well, thanks, Brandon. If people want to get a hold of us, it's www.tacticalwoodgas.com, and then if they want to get in hold of me, it's mike@tacticalwoodgas.com, and then we've got an 800 number listed on the page there. And then we've got a bunch of videos up there as well.
Mike, I appreciate you being a guest. Would you be willing to do something like this again in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, especially as you get questions back or comments back, we can fine-tune it for what everyone is looking for.
Mike, I just want to say thank you very much for being on the program with us today. And again, good luck. I know you're a young company. I know you guys are still still growing, some of that, and if you guys are interested in ever doing another show with us again, we'll contact you or you contact us. We'd be very happy to do it. Thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it today.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. Bye-bye.